everyone, welcome for this new weekly community show. I hope you're all doing well and ready to listen to the happy news I have to share with you today. Indeed, like we have been announcing and talking about in the last episode last week, we have the quest in-game finale, and that's what we are going to speak about today, as well as the new dungeon in Northreach. That's also something we need to speak about. It's the new name of the zone. South New Haven is now called New Haven Valley, and North New Haven is now called Northreach. So it might happen that sometimes old name is going to slip here and there, but we do have some new name. So I hope you're very excited for this. We also have a special guest today. So be ready to welcome Morroland TV that's going to speak over here about his new position in the team and what he thinks about the game and all about his past and his past experience. And you will be welcome to ask him any question if you want. If you want to see those show live, do remember that you can see them every Friday at 6 p.m. Central Europe time or 11 a.m. CDT. We offer one beta key to a happy viewer every week, so come check us out on Twitch TV. You will find all of the information below. There it is. A first question from Blark on Blark LOL. Do you have server in Bahrain? We do only have one server, and the goal will be to have a global server to welcome everyone, regardless of where they are situated geographically in the world. As we are not a game that has PvP, and we do have a combat that's more slow-paced and more strategic, we do not have the need of having an extremely fast responding ping, and until now we didn't have any problem. One of our developers is from Australia and the server is situated in Austin, Texas, and we do not have any problem regarding the ping. So that's the goal. Of course, things can be discussed depending on how things are evolving from now, but the idea is to get everyone together on one single server and to not divide our community into different servers because of their geographic location. So today we have a lot of things news. Of course, there's the new dungeon and the new quest, but some other little things that are not so little that you will be excited about. So let's get to read the patch note immediately. Of course, I'm not going to read the entirety of the patch note. So then again, if you want to read them for yourself, check out the links below and read the thread that you will find on the forum. Or you can also watch the video created by Alice Blue. She's reading the patch note for you if you prefer to hear someone else reading them for you. What's new? This week bring a heap of new features and updates, the biggest of which is the reveal of our latest iteration of the quest system. Next up is a new dungeon and the reintroduction of Embers Adrift. We have also adjusted player health regen to reduce overload time. So that's something we have been showing you already last week. So this is something that has been fixed in game just for the pleasingness of the landscape, which is the comparison of the old trees, which are the one with very little leaf and the one with the full version of the leaf. So this is some shader that were not working properly. This has been fixed now, and so the trees are fully restored to their beauty. Now, one other thing which is really nice, and that's something I know some of you will be happy about, is the seasonal change. So now we do have colors for the season. So at the autumn, for the fall, the trees are getting beautiful shade, going from green to red and losing their leaf. So that's a very nice addition. So we have been working recently on the season And at the moment I introduced it to you in one of the past episodes, we didn't had the change of color yet, but it is now done. And so this is something you will be able to enjoy, especially in a zone like Meadowland that has a lot of those type of tree, a lot of birch tree. So this is going to be beautiful. Of course, the video that you just saw, it's just something fastly done, just as an example. So it's not going to be as fast, obviously, when you are in game. So we have already said the season rhythm is probably, it's approximately 28 days, and then you will have a full year of season. Right. Here we have a little change in the interface. For the stats that are only applicable in combat, we now show the combat icon, crossed sword, next to the value to indicate that it's not currently active. Once you drop into combat stance by unshading your weapon, the combat icon will go away, indicating that the stat is active. So basically, resilience is not a stat that will be active out of combat, so you have to be in combat to see that stat in your interface. So we're trying, and this is a work in progress, to make the interface, the tooltip, and all of that kind of information much more readable and much more clear for players. New stuff, new quest and dialogue system. This week, we're bringing you our latest iteration of the quest and dialogue system. It has been completely reworked from the ground up to provide greater flexibility, extensibility, and support for a broader variety of quest type. This update also expands our dialogue system to be more dynamic, provide support for both quest and non-quest dialogue at the same time, and allow for NPCs to offer multiple quests. In addition, we have begun to replace our table with actual merchants. And that's so sad, because it would have been so funny to keep the table without merchant. At least some of them. At this point, we have implemented a number of quests in New Haven Valley and replaced most of the merchants. This zone is by no means complete, but we're working our way there and will be filling in content from now until launch. Those quests are hot off the presses, so please make sure to report any issue and bugs when you encounter them. There is currently no interface element to track those quests, so we have added the list objectives chat command that will show you your current objective. This is rough, but should help. Adding an interface element to track those objectives along with improving the dialogue interface is next up on the to-do list, in addition to adding new quests. We encourage you to make a new character this week to more naturally experience those quests, which will also allow you to more effectively group up with new players during the upcoming World Breaker events. So it's a very exciting moment. We finally have our quests, so we're going to test those quests later in the gameplay part of this episode. So you will be able to see and discover them together with me. I've barely tried them out during our Wednesday test, so I could discover them in the same times and do the reading together with you. North Reach Dungeons. That's really awesome. This is something we were waiting for a long time, and I'm very excited to see you try it out. Central Vein has expanded into the north with the Wild of North Reach. You will now find 2 static dungeon entrances along with roaming Embers Adrift. A little bored about the Embers Adrift, only the alpha tester had the chance to try them out. So what is an Embers Adrift? First, it looks like that. That's what you can find, and it's a kind of portal that you will find in different places in the world. They are not always active. So when you see one, you may want to gather a group and get into it, because the entrance or the part of the dungeon that you will access to through those Embers Adrift are unique, and you will not be able to reach them out via the static entrance of the dungeon. So it's really to give this kind of dynamism in a world where you are in the desire of actively seeking Ember Drift. And when you see one, you get excited, you want to gather a group if you don't have one already, so you can explore those parts of the dungeon. Martyrific is asking, will we get to see some gameplay? Yes, you always see the gameplay after the discussion. So today we have the discussion about the patch notes and the news. We will have a special guest where we will discuss more, and then you will see the gameplay. So you can expect some gameplay in 1 hour and a half from now, something like that. Lord Cole, is there a main leaf or Shaz comment in the forum? Yes, there's one. Here you go, but it's probably not updated. Ember Drift, for those of you who were not around when we last tested them, provide temporary access to specific part of the dungeon that may or may not be accessible via static entrance. So yes, a small correction from what I just say. Some parts that you will access through the Ember Drift could be potentially accessible from the main entrance, but you're not sure and you never know. Those anomalies can be tough as an overexposed ember ring or a more powerful manifestation of ember energy that connects 2 points through a portal. The overall representation of an ember drift look like the following and can be activated by stepping into the center. If you see one of those in your travel, you might consider entering in it, as it doesn't stick around for too long. Interaction with the underworld Ember Drift is done by getting close to it and right-clicking similar to a door. Those can be either active or inactive. When active, the portal is bidirectional, meaning that there is a corresponding overworld Ember Drift that leads to its location. Active stat is indicated by the lighting and particle effect being enabled. When inactive, the portal is only one direction. The player can exit the dungeon, but you will not be able to return. Inactive is indicated by the lighting and particle effect being disabled. Note that the new dungeon nav mesh is not clean. This means that the NPC movement may have some oddities to it. I will try to get this clean up before the weekend. Health Regen update. That's also something quite important. Previously, our innate health regenerate was a fixed value which led to significant downtime for players when their health pools grew. The downtime I've always been explaining that is something that we wish, but we don't wish this downtime to be boring. We need to find the correct balance, because this is an attempt to rebalance the downtime when you're regenerating your health in between combats. So we need your feedback for this, it's very important. There were a number of things we had to consider when modifying the player health regen. We wanted to reduce players' downtime while not severely impacting the pace of play nor the value of plus regen gear and consumables. What we landed on is something we are calling fully rested health regen. It works by slowly adding a bonus to your health regeneration rate the longer you are out of combat, which is indicated by sword icon under your nameplate not being in combat stance. At level 20, this results in a 40% improvement in the time it takes to fully heal. This method scales well with higher health pool, as the longer you wait, the higher you regen rate. Note there is a cap on the back end. Please let us know how this feels and if you think this make the plus regen stat obsolete or screw up the pace of play. So your feedback is going to be really important. Is it too fast? Does it make the plus regen that you had via food or via equipment completely obsolete? Is it something you're not seeking anymore? So we are in need of rebalancing things tightly, so your feedback is going to be very important in that regard. To give you feedback, you can do /report to give your feedback directly in game, but the best is of course to answer these threads specifically with that feedback. Or open another, but I think to answer this thread will be the best in this case. Resolution scaling, experimental feature. A new slider has been added to the video option that enable Unity's dynamic resolution scaling. This technology essentially renders the game at a lower resolution and then, as a final step, upscales the image to your selected resolution. This feature should help ease GPU load for higher resolution while maintaining reasonable visual fidelity. This feature is experimental and I'm still not sure if it's working correctly. Give it a spin if you're running at higher resolution and let me know if it has any impact on your frame rate and/or visual quality. And then we have, of course, the work in progress. So this week, the important things to note for the patch note is the quests that need to be tested, the new dungeon, and the health regen. So we need your feedback, it's very precious, and we listen to all of the feedback our players provide. There it is, now everyone can see you. Welcome, Moralan!
Hey, how's it going?
It's going very fine, I'm very happy. You're my first guest on this show, so this is a special moment here.
Nice. What did you guys go over already today?
We have been discussing about the new dungeon and the new quest. Well, basically what's happening in the patch notes. Very excited for the Worldbreaker event as well.
Yeah, this was a big patch this week. One of the biggest ones we've had in a while, I think.
Yes, indeed. So we are going to start by introducing you to the people. Probably some know you already from Twitch because you are a streamer as well and a content creator in general. But maybe you can introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, sure. So I guess most people at this point do know me from streaming. I started streaming in 2016, mostly known for a game called Black Desert Online. But then over the years, I kind of started doing story playthroughs of games like Dark Souls and Hollow Knight, or like the Final Fantasy VII remake. Anything that has a good story to dive into. I also constantly find myself drifting back to older MMOs like Ultima Online or the classic EverQuest emulators, games from years and years ago. So I bounced it around a lot to modern MMOs, but never really found a home there. And just recently, as part of that process, I came across Embers. The team reached out to me. I started to learn about the game, and I made a whole video about how this went down. But kind of one thing led to another, and I took an interest in the game, and now here I am, part of the team. So that's kind of the spark notes.
Yeah, and that's really exciting. But before to be a streamer, you also had a previous experience in the gaming industry. Am I correct?
I did, yeah. So when I was really, when I was still in college, maybe like 19 or 20, I worked at Sony Online Entertainment. So that was the company that originally made EverQuest at the time. I didn't get to work too much on the original EverQuest while I was there. I mostly worked on an MMO called Free Realms, which was like the weird experimental MMO that was supposed to aim for like the 10 to 15-year-old crowd. So that was an interesting experience. And then, while I was there, I also got to see behind the curtain for like Star Wars Galaxies and PlanetSide and a couple other games. So that was really cool. I remember like being a huge EverQuest fan as a kid, like going to the offices for Sony and, seeing like all the art on the wall and being kind of like on the inside of all that for a while was really cool. But I was just kind of like a low-level game tester there for a while. And then after that, a few years later, some friends and I made our own little indie studio where we made a game called Cards and Castles. It was a team of about 5 or 6 of us, and that was a mobile game, and it was like Magic the Gathering crossed with chess is the best way I can describe it.
Nice.
So it was like a card collector battle game, but you played it on a tactical grid. So in Magic, you just kind of put your cards on the table, and then they can attack each other, but there's nothing really simulating what the cards are doing. And so the game we made, you still played your cards like you would in Magic the Gathering, but you actually spawned units on a board and you move them around like chess pieces, and they had different ranges and moves that they could do. Um, so I worked on that for several years and got to go to PAX with the team a few times and showcase the game. And that's what I did for the most part before streaming. And then I also worked for Albion Online for a little bit.
Oh,
Um, I worked for them kind of like towards the beginning of when I was streaming, mainly doing like customer service. I didn't really have anything to do with the design of that game, but I was answering tickets and doing that sort of thing.
yeah, this is really great. You have really plenty of experience. It's really fantastic. I think that a lot of people don't realize how much content creators as well are involved into the gaming industry in general, and because that's not always something that you see, and what you see is just a person in front of their computer sharing games and making fun jokes with their chats, but it requires very often involvement with different developers and testing and being part of interviewing developers and having a close contact with the gaming industry in addition of all of that.
Yeah, but believe it or not, sometimes streamers can, we're not all total degenerates. Some of us can, do other work as well and be productive still. So
Yep. So, your task in Embers Adrift is narrative designer. Do you want to tell a little bit what it entails?
yeah, so here's where a lot of my kind of like D&D experience and stuff comes in as far as storytelling. So basically, there's two, I guess probably two main elements to it. So there's the actual, narrative and story itself. So that is kind of picking up the torch from what Drendon and others have established as far as the world of Embers Adrift and how we got here. What is the story of this place? What are the things that we still haven't yet discovered? What are the different groups in the world, and what are their motivations and goals? How are we going to encounter those groups? How are we going to learn about their stories? So there's a bunch of different colliding narratives and storylines throughout the game, and we want to make sure that all of that is cohesive and works together and interesting. Um, the the main, with a game like this, with I guess with some MMOs, some of the storyline I feel like tends to be kind of railroady, or kind of like something that the devs feel like they have to put in order to get you to a certain place in the game, or there has to be kind of a main story quest from 1 to max or whatever. Like in some games I feel like it's a bit of an afterthought, and in Embers, what I've noticed, like both before and after joining the team, is they don't want any of the story content to be filler. They don't want any of it to be there because, oh, we just need something in this zone for people to do. There's a lot of heart and thought that has gone into the story. They want to make sure it's interesting. We want to make sure that people have something interesting to discover, and that these factions actually have something that they're up to. So that's part of it. There's the storytelling part of it, which I really love, and then there's also a bit of the gameplay part of it as well. So I'm thinking about what is the design of the quests in terms of a actual journey, like where in the game are the players going to go, how difficult should this content be, how hard should it be to figure out the puzzle of what this quest is trying to solve. So it's cool. I get to do the a little bit of the story side, but a little bit of the design side as well.
Yeah, it's always nice. And when we have a small team like ours, everyone have the chance to put a little bit their hands in different area and participate to everything, because we need as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely other roles that I've taken up on the side too. I find myself play testing the game and looking for bugs and kind of habits that I have from other games as well. So yeah, I think those things can be helpful.
Yeah, you seem to be someone, from when I watch your streams, to be really good at analyzing the combat, etc., which is something I am very bad at. I play Embers Adrift like anything. I can speak with undone as much as possible. I will still be a tourist in the game on that regard, at least, and play, yeah, a little bit with this new approach, or where I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. While you seems to be very tactician and to really understand immediately. That's something that really impressed me, because you were just playing the game for the first time, or the first few time, and already had understood everything. What are the aspects that really passionate you in games like that?
Yeah, I love trying to figure out a game, or solve a game to the highest kind of degree possible, and there's definitely an element of speed to that as well. I think part of that also comes from like streaming for so long and making guides. You have to be, if you're going to make, kind of the cutting edge guides for a game, especially a new game, you, in theory, if a new game comes out, you're learning it at the same pace as everyone else, but that's not the expectation. The expectation is, 2 days into the game, people want guides explaining to them what all the best strategies and everything are. So yeah, I've definitely learned to kind of like pick apart the game, look for the most, effective ways to accomplish whatever the goal is, whether that's combat related or whether that's, crafting or whatever kind of system tends to grab me. I tend to really go and try to like master that to the highest level. That's one of the ways that I get satisfaction out of playing these games, is kind of pushing that. Um, so yeah, there's definitely the element of strategy. With the World Breaker coming up tomorrow, my friends and I are talking about like what's the optimal, what's the perfect 6-person group gonna be for like the highest efficiency, the lowest chance of wiping, like who's gonna be able to clear the dungeon the fastest. And um, so yeah, that's just one of the things I love about games like this, is going into those strategies and kind of picking those apart. And it's funny because I know some people aren't like that at all. Some people just in
Yep.
any group, they're more interested in like, the social aspect of, what is the personalities of the people I'm playing with, and who's more fun to play with, and who cares what class they're bringing, like it's more chill. So everyone's got like kind of their own target when it comes to that. And yeah, I think that's cool. It's good to have a game that supports multiple play styles, where everyone doesn't have to necessarily be forced into one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I am completely incarnating the other side, the one that just pick up the flower and admire the landscape and take screenshots. So this is the important part for me. And everything else, I really enjoy a game when you need to be smart about it and think about it, but I never go for the meta gaming. First, because it's really break my head to have to calculate things and figure out stuff like that. I don't really like that aspect in gaming. And secondly, because I always pay more attention to being inclusive, and so that will always be the predominant thought that I have. Playing with anyone that come my way, even if it's not a good player, it's not a big deal. Even if it's a force supporter, well, whatever, let's deal with it. And so
Yeah, I think it really depends on the content too, right? Like if we're out in the Meadowlands and we're hunting quillbacks, um, we could probably take like 6 duelists out there and do fine. Like we don't even need to worry that much about having different roles um, in the group at all. But if we're gonna break into the new dungeon at the earliest level possible, and it's a bunch of yellow 3 chevrons, and it's a tight space where we don't have a lot to work with, that's a totally different scenario where we have to be like way more try hard. So it depends on what content you're tackling too. And one thing I really appreciate about Embers in terms of difficulty is, a lot of games, when it comes to discovering the meta or discovering the best strategies, it's not necessarily intuitive, or it requires you to use out of game tools, or develop a spreadsheet or something like that. And in Embers, like I feel like you can really discover the best strategies naturally just by playing your class and leveling up and finding yourself in those scenarios. It doesn't really require you to go seek external tools to solve that. So as a player who really likes to pursue challenge and difficulty, that's definitely something that I appreciate in this game.
yeah, and like you say, you can Embers Adrift is a way which is flexible enough to allow you to play it in differently, and you can push super far into the mastery of the game and challenge yourself to a great extent, because you could go into the dungeon with a 3-person group, under-leveled, and you could add yourself more difficulties if you wanted to really show up that you really master your class and you really master your group, and you have a very, very good strategy between the different player, and that's pretty cool, because nowadays there's very often the game is aimed for you to play it in a certain way. Here, as a player, you can be creative and do differently. And that's something I really like. I like the creative aspect that you can have in the way you play the game, and not just the way you make your equipment looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And all those different play styles are rewarded as well. Like, there are going to be certain items. If you really want that item, you have to go get it from the dungeon. But the same thing is still true for roaming the Meadowlands too. Like, there's other every play style has something that's going to be super rewarding for it, which I think is cool.
All right, so now we will have to test the quests. It's the first time we have the quest in game, which is also proving a little bit your point that you were explaining earlier, that in Embers Adrift we want the story to be important, and one of the aspects of it is that the game is playable without the story. And until now we have proved that you do not need a story to really enjoy Embers Adrift. Therefore, the story needs to really stand out by itself and be something special in its own. Do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. The quests aren't. You don't just hop from quest to quest and kind of use that as your way to progress through the game and level. The quests are all there kind of at your discretion to decide what you think is interesting, what you think might be rewarding. Some quests I think are going to be very obvious to people what needs to be done. Other quests, it's going to require a lot of investigation, some guesswork. It's going to require you to ask other players in the area, if they've seen the thing that you're looking for. And so some people might choose to just kind of walk right past those NPCs and just slay monsters because that's what they want to do. And then other people might choose to delve fully into those adventures. But the quests in Embers, they don't reward experience. You get experience when you're doing them because they're going to force you to go places where you're going to have to fight. Um, but the rewards for the quests are, it's going to be mostly money and unique items and things like that. Um, so you're not expected to go around and do every quest in the game. If you want to level up, you could skip them all entirely if you want. That's essentially, like you said, that's what people have been doing so far in beta before the quests have been implemented. So the quests are really there to make sure that they are not mandatory chores that anyone has to do or anything like that. They're supposed to be just completely additive points of interest that people can pursue that gives them something genuinely engaging.
Yeah, and that's something that I really like. It's also allow us as creator to be maybe a little bit more wordy in certain quests, to give more information, because the people that will do them are kind of expected to be interested. While in other game, you need to be restrictive to not bore the players, to have to read too
Yeah,
many text.
if you have to do 200 quests on the way from this level 1 to level whatever, then yeah, a lot of people I think will check out and not really read they'll kind of skip and get to the bottom. Okay, I have to go kill 10 boars and bring back their hide. Okay, fine. And that's the part that they pay attention to, and so that's what they get into. Um, and yeah, with these quests, like if you just skip past everything, go to the end, you might be able, some quests you can probably still get away with that, but there's going to be some quests where part of the game, part of the challenge of the quest is picking up clues from the dialogue, picking up clues from the characters you're interacting with, because maybe they're hiding something, or maybe there's something they don't want you to know, and you got to kind of piece that together. Or maybe they're giving you a clue about where you need to go, but they're not spelling it out for you. They're not saying like, oh, you need to go to this exact cave and find this exact thing. They might say something along the lines of, we I lost this item and I saw the person who stole it go in this direction, and that's all you got. And you got to, from there, you got to figure out what the next clue is. Um, so definitely, if you want to get into the quest, I'd recommend paying attention at least a little bit.
Yeah, and that's something that's really cool, because it's not really how you see this in game. And there's plenty of MMORPG that have a very excellent narrative. I will take as example Elder Scrolls Online and Final Fantasy 13, which are two MMO well known for their quality of quest and quality of narrative, and both of them are doing in a very, very different way. And so we're going to bring something in a third way, where you really have to explore.
Yeah, and I think quests like this have been done in games in the past, but not a lot in recent games. This is why we talked about this earlier, but I often find myself circling back to these super old games. This style of quest does exist in old school EverQuest, exists in old school RuneScape and similar games. But yeah, you haven't seen it too much. Like, I think people have really gotten used to the kind of like, simple task: go here, get 5 of these, kill 10 of these, come back, click next. Like, those, the kind of filler style of quest where you're just kind of using it to get experience and go on. And it's kind of like, I don't know, this doesn't have a ton of depth to it, and so I think a lot of people will find this refreshing.
Yeah, it's nice. Well, because even in the game I just mentioned before, the task itself is simple, and it's just the narration around the quest which is rich. But the quest itself is not, you don't have to think, you don't have to do a real investigation. You're just pretending that you're doing one, basically.
Yeah, it's like it's just kind of like disguising the fact that you're doing the thing you would have been doing anyways if you weren't on the quest.
yeah, sort of. So this is good. So guys, be ready for optional quests. You tackle them if you want to do them. They are going to be challenging in their own. And it's the way to be role-playing your character in a different and more serious way, to get invested into your character in a different way.
Yep, should be good. And I can't promise that this will happen before launch, but we also plan to have like rare or hidden quests as well. So there may be quests that you find out in the wilderness where the person who offers that quest isn't always available, or he's not always in that location. So definitely, be sure that you're talking to other people, and when they're discovering things or when they're exploring new areas, talk to people in the game and see what they found, because there might be something out there that you missed the first time.
I do have another question for you. Without giving any spoiler, what excites you the most in the lore of Embers Adrift?
Oh. How do I answer that without spoilers?
It's not easy.
I think I can kind of broadly answer this. One of the things that I think is really exciting about our game, lore-wise, that I haven't seen in a lot of other games, is the low fantasy setting. And so, because you're coming into the game and it's low fantasy, and you don't have any people who are like wizards at level 1, right? Everyone comes in, they have a sword or a bow or something like that. There's not much that they're capable of doing. The enemies that they're fighting are also not wizards. Like, there's not a lot of high fantasy stuff happening, but there are hints of things out there that are mysterious. There's the Ember Rings, which kind of have this mystical quality that allows you to heal when you rest nearby them, and it causes your wounds to go away. And so what is that? Is that magic? Is that not magic? There's kind of this this gray area there where the player doesn't really know what is possible, what's the full potential of this setting, and that gives us a lot of really cool opportunities to unveil things within that mystery and kind of keep the player in that zone of uncertainty where they don't know what the limit of what their character can do is. They don't know what the limit of what the enemies that they face out in the world might be. So we can surprise you in a lot of ways, where, some things might have been assumed or expected in a different setting, but in this setting, you don't quite know as much what you can expect or what actually is going to be possible. And so, I'm being vague because I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, but that opportunity is really fun to work with.
Yeah, I think that was a brilliant answer to this question, and I agree very much with you. This is also one of the aspects that I really love. And one thing that also get me very excited about the lore of Embers Adrift is the fact that you have this society that just enter into a new territory and that there is everything to discover. And so basically the characters, the NPCs of the story are like the players. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know much. Well, a little bit more, but not much. And that puts really the player as a character, but also as the player into this situation of not knowing and of having everything to discover.
Yeah, you're on the frontier, and all the characters in the game, some of them have made attempts to travel north and conquer these new areas, but most of those attempts have failed. And so they're on the frontier as well. The NPCs aren't going to necessarily have answers for you about what's out there. They're going to be asking you questions most of the time about,
Yep.
What's going on up there. Get us information about this, or so. Yeah, even when it comes to the setting and your character as a character, there's a lot of uncertainty and discovery waiting to be happened.
And that means that you can only but journey towards a progression and a betterment, a gathering of knowledge and gathering of skills, etc. And so you really have this feeling of progression, which is enhanced by the journey of the character through this unknown land.
Yeah, so chat is asking about the different faction archetypes in the game. So those of you who have played the game, you've seen the smugglers and the exiles in the first zone. You may have even run into the marauders in some of the later zones. The fun thing with factions and Embers, you have some factions that are clearly set up as enemies of New Haven, right? They're the people whose interests directly conflict with New Haven. But when you have this kind of like wilderness frontier setting, a lot of times it's unclear, who is friend, who is foe. You have people that kind of naturally emerge as enemies because you're in this dangerous area and there's scarcity and people have conflicts that go back from years and years ago or whatever. But there's for the most part, a lot of these groups are very they're nomadic or they're decentralized, like it's unclear who the leader is. So you might have groups of marauders who break off and do their own thing, or you might have groups of smugglers or exiles who defect. So there's a lot of what's the word? There's definitely opportunities in both directions when it comes to like the factions and how they interact, for people to kind of not totally be what they seem at first, or to maybe try to spy or infiltrate on a different group. And there's not always super clear distinctions or boundaries between what these factions are after. And so I think we'll see some kind of cool overlap there, like in terms of just strict, it won't always necessarily be just like strict archetypes. A lot of these people will kind of be trying to play both sides, or do other sneaky things.
And then there's the friendly faction that has not been introduced yet to the players. So I'm not sure we can speak about it, but you do have friendly faction as well, of New Heaveners that are not always agreeing with each other. And there might be some conflict and some things and some plot happening there too. And what we have tried with them is to break away from the cliche that you have in other game, in classic game. Like will not have a classical Druid circle, for example. Like that's not exactly what's happening. You might have something that play a little bit that role, but it's not going to be as cliche as the faction can be in other game, because we want to do things in a more realistic and more human way, I guess.
Yeah, these are characters that are doing what they must do, or what they believe they must do to survive in a harsh, unconquered land that has surprises and dangers that they don't know how to deal with, that they don't know how to expect. So that's, it gets pretty gritty. There's not necessarily like a lot of the typical kind of high fantasy tropish, like you said, druid circle type of groups. It's a lot more like these are groups of people that are banding together out of necessity. And the conflict is going to be very rough, and the player, when facing these groups, may have choices to make about who they want to help, and whose side of the story they believe, or who they might think is lying, or who they might just agree with from some of these questions might not have black and white answers. There might be a weird moral decision that the player has to make about who's right and who's wrong in an impossible scenario. And so I think that stuff will be fun to play with.
And that's things that are really interesting, especially in this game. We have the space to do it. So another more down to earth question: when could the game be available in German? So we are not going to localize the game to start with. This is something that we wish to do, but it will depend on the success of the game and the demand. So if you want the game to be localized in German, be sure that all your German friends want to play the game, and that the German newsletter are speaking about our game all over the place, and then there will be more chance to have the game localized in German. Same thing in French and in other languages, of course. You're just scrolling up a little bit to see this as a question.
Grim wants to know if there's going to be a quest to swim across the lake.
Oh.
I don't know about that. That might be a player-initiated quest, Grim. I don't know if we're going to write that one in for you.
Oh, that would be nice.
We
now we have to have it.
that was the first thing our group did when we went to Meadowlands. Is we ran straight to the lake and swam across it, and then died on the other side. But the lake, we just couldn't believe how big the lake was, so we had to swim across the whole thing and see what was there.
But I think this is also something cool in a game like this, is that you can imagine it leaves the space for you to follow the story that the game is showing you and know more about the world and know more about the setting, but it also leaves you the space to create your own stories and to maybe follow the quests to know a little bit about the lore and what the game is about, and have some backstory to the world and to the zone and to what's going on, so you can build your own story even better, like crossing the lake for obscure reason.
Yeah, although, come to think of it, there may be some fun things we could do with the lake in terms of the quest triggers we have now, but I won't say much more than that.
So is the game solo friendly for leveling only? So you can absolutely do your whole progression as a solo player. That being said, everything in the game is made to encourage you to group up with player. So all of the system of the game, the classes, how they interact with each other, the crafting, and the challenges that you will encounter are aimed to encourage you to want to group up with player. But if you're really stubborn, so to speak, or you really want to do all of your progression by yourself, you will absolutely be able to do it. But will it be efficient and will it be fun? That will really depend upon you.
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on your class selection too. Obviously in a game that's structured like this, some classes are more specialized and some classes are more general. So if you're playing a highly specialized class, then you're going to struggle to play by yourself because there's going to be a lot of roles you're not fulfilling. If you're playing a more kind of versatile hybrid class, I think you can solo a lot more easily. The game has different sort of rankings. You can think of them as like elites or non-elites from other game, but there's generally three different rankings of mobs that you encounter, and one of them is designed for solos, and you'll find those across every zone. So yeah, you can go all the way from one to max soloing. You'll probably still want to do some trading in terms of crafting and stuff because you're not going to be able to make everything yourself. But if you are just determined to play the game solo, that content is there, although obviously you won't have access to all content. You won't be able to do certain dungeons and things as a solo player. It's just going to be too much to handle.
Yeah, exactly. Will there be a matchmaking? I have no friends. No, that's so sad. But just Embers Adrift is a good occasion to make friends. We do not have automated matchmaking because I do believe, and maybe Morgan agree with me on that the matchmaking system that has been introduced with World of Warcraft in Wrath of the Lich King destroyed the social aspect in MMORPG in general. It went a downfall since that day. I personally really hate the matchmaking system. Even if it's very convenient, it doesn't help you to make friends. So we do not have that, but we do have a tool where you can promote your group or look for someone which is more into the same style that the system you have in Final Fantasy XIV to make a party, or in World of Warcraft to set up a Mythic Plus group. So it's very much in the same way. You can announce your group, look for other player, but then you have to contact the player yourself to do the group. It's not automatic.
Yeah, and I think one thing to keep in mind, people I think are used to more kind of like instance-based or objective-based group play, and Embers doesn't really have that. You're not queuing for any instances, so the idea of matchmaking, I don't think you would really want matchmaking in a game like Embers. Your adventures are going to be very dynamic, right? Like when you go to a dungeon. Maybe you guys are going to go through that entire dungeon and clear everything and find every rare, but that's a huge undertaking in this game. It's not like a WoW dungeon where you start at the beginning and you kill stuff for an hour and you're at the end and you fight the final boss. The dungeons and the content isn't structured like that. You might get partially through the dungeon and it starts to get too difficult, and so you guys pause and start to head back out or something like that. Or you might be surprised by the rare item that you find and you decide you want to leave and go put it in the bank so that you don't risk losing it or something like that. So the adventures are going to be a lot less like scripted, for lack of a better word, and because of that, like, I don't think you would really want matchmaking. You want to find people who have similar goals that you do, and then kind of like there's emergent unexpected outcomes that you're going to have from going to this place that you're going that you probably haven't fully mapped out yet. There's going to be a big element of exploration going with that as well. So
yeah, in addition, it's always nicer to be able to communicate with other player, and the matchmaking system cuts the need for communication and for speaking up. And here was a game like Embers Adrift where the group element is so important and the social element is so important. We really need, and especially in our time, in our era, because 20 years ago it was different, but nowadays you need to kind of re-educate player to group up with each other, to encourage them. So you need to push them nicely and offer them tools to facilitate the communication, but making the communication needed. So there is this approach towards other player and a relationship that starts to be created.
yeah, and you might be surprised to see who you get along with once you actually start talking about. I think like with some people who've only played like some of the more modern MMOs, they're just so used to not talking to people, or they're so used to like a certain kind of one speed, not friendly mentality when they do try to talk to other players. And I don't think you'll encounter that as much in Embers. Like the vibe of the game and the gameplay that's being facilitated, I think people are generally, it brings out a more social cooperative side of people. People aren't so much like go go go. We have to get this thing. I have to kill this boss for my daily and da 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 da. And then I'm done with the group as soon as I'm finish my objective. Like the game's just not really structured in that way. And so I think those interactions are a lot more can happen a lot more easily. And you might find it's a little bit easier to make friends in this game than in more of the instance based MMOs.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the big goal of these games to foster community and friendship, and for that you need the space and time and the adventure. Nothing bonds players better than to have to face together a challenge and to have to overcome it together, and to have to communicate for it, and to have the space to do it, to have to collaborate with each other. So the game is built with that in mind. And so you will need to cooperate with other player. You will want to cooperate with other player. So can you get kicked at the end of a raid? First, there's no raid yet in the game. Second, you can always be kicked. And we have the function kicked out of the group. But so it's possible. But hopefully no one will want to do that.
Yeah, if you're deep into a dungeon in Embers and people start kicking each other out of the group, like it's not like they can invite someone else and replace you. The dungeons, again, they're not instances. You can't summon people to you. You can't teleport across the map and instantly be with the group. If you're like crawling through a dungeon in Embers is an ordeal. It takes time. It's challenging. You might get lost. Like you have to fight your way through the dungeon. And so yeah, if someone couldn't just like sporadically be like, oh, my friend's here now, so I'm gonna kick this guy. Like it takes a lot more than that to get into a dungeon and get to where the group is at. And I think, like, again, there's a lot of expectations from other games. I understand how people are coming into Embers with those, but I think once you start playing the game a little bit, you'll see that there's something fundamentally different there, that questions like that kind of naturally get resolved. Like they're not really going to be an issue.
In addition, you will be you will be much more mean to drop someone in your group if you're in the middle of a dungeon. So the moral weight of your decision is going to be much more important than if you do that in an instance dungeon game where you're just messing one person around, maybe. Here you're going to really endanger almost the character of one person. You know that he's going to die. You know that he's going to lose his bag. And that he's going to have a horrible time if you abandon him in the middle of the dungeon.
Well, and I mean, the thing is that that's kind of mutual though. Like you need each other when you're that deep into a dungeon. It's not like they kick you out of the group and then you're on your own. They're down there too. They're in just as much danger as you are. So you're all kind of in the same boat. You're in the same amount of danger. Nobody's really getting one up on the other person by kicking them from the group. So you're kind of all in the same situation at that point.
Yep. Well, I do hope that in this game, people are going to have less toxic behaviors that you can find in other game. I am trustful, but I'm more of an optimistic nature of person. And I do believe in the deep goodness of humankind. Yes, I know for some people this is weird. And I hope that our game is going to foster those feelings to be in the front of everyone rather than the other ones. But who knows? We have to see.
Yeah, people in any game, no matter what, you're on the internet. Some people are going to be toxic. Some people are going to have a bad day. Some people are going to take it out on you, whatever. But at the end of the day, the game systems themselves can be structured in a way that encourages cooperation, or they can be structured in a way that encourages, just getting the thing over with as fast as possible, and you don't actually have to interact directly. The game can be structured in a way that pits players against each other. All those things. The game has tremendous influence on all those things, and I think you guys will find, like, repeatedly when you're playing Embers, that the game is not structured in a way where like toxic behavior is rewarded or effective in any way. If you get a reputation for being toxic, then it's just kind of going to work against you. People are going to learn about it, and it's not going to get anything done for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone knows that you cannot trust Barry.
Exactly.
All right. So it was super nice to talk with you, Morolan.
Yeah, this was fun.
So will you want to come back to the show?
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, that's so cool. So now we are going to tackle on the new quest system. I've never done those quests, so I'm going to discover them with you just now. So for context, we have just crossed the Darkland. We are exhausted, we are tired, and after crossing the bridge, we're discovering this little guy over there, which will be the first person to we shall address ourselves. So that is not a new quest, it was there before, but I've never done it, so let's go. The Bard of the Breach, Dante. You approach a man seemingly lost in his music. As he heard your approach, he seemed both surprised and excited to see you. Hail, Drifter! Welcome to New Heaven. I'm Dante, a humble bard at your service. I'm here to greet newcomers for the Darklands. And you are? I'm Elloa Wendy. Nice to meet you, Dante. And you, Elloa Wendy, you must have a million questions. Well, yes, in fact. I'm happy to answer any question you may have. Who are you? My name is Dante, and I play music near the bridge, calling to those who wander the Darklands, hoping those near enough will hear it and follow it across the chasm. We certainly need all the helping hand we can find in this dangerous land. Why do you need a helping hand? Well, to be honest, our numbers have dwindled since we attempted to expand into the north. We were cut off from many of our people. As we tried to re-establish supply communication routes with them, we lost even more people. We rarely venture north anymore for fear of losing more folk to the wild. You drifters show up is a spark of hope for us. I'm happy to answer any question you may have. What is this place? This is New Heaven, a relatively safe place between the Great Chasm and the Wildlands to the north. It has its fair share of danger, but the people are friendly, supportive, and welcoming. I think you will find it much more preferable to the Darklands. The old wall at the head of the valley protects us from the more formidable foes of the land to the north, and the Great Chasm separates us from the Darklands to the south and whatever evil lurks therein. What is the old wall? Honestly, nobody knows its origin. You will see it clearly as you head further north along the path too. Aside from it and a few ruins, there is no evidence of any other civilized people here. Maybe you can find out more about that. Is that a friend or a foe I see up the path? Who? Guard Rhonda? Oh, she's a friend and will teach you combat maneuvers to help you survive here. In fact, you will see many dressed like her, clad in armor. If you ever get attacked and need help, you can run to any of the guards and they will help you defeat your enemies. How can I heal my wounds? Oh, yes, of course. You have many wounds from drifting through the Darklands. The first things to do is to get your strength back. Normally, rest and sustenance over a long period of time will be the solution, but we found an even better way to recover. Embering. Got up the path and find a plume of an orangish ember energy rising into the sky from a ring of fire in the ground that need no fuel to burn. Sit by it and watch it heal your wounds and feel your fatigue washing away. After that, I suggest you talk to Guard Rhonda. She will help you remember how to fight and survive. Very well, I will find this Ember Ring and then I will find Rhonda and speak with her. Thank you, Dante. You're welcome, Drifter. We are glad to have you here in New Haven. I'm happy to answer any question you may have. So, there it is. That's the first dialogue we have. As you can see, those quests are more lengthy in terms of dialogue. So you really want to read them. And if you don't like that, if you're not interested in this type, you can skip a lot of the question. You can, you know, go more straight to the point. And Dante do not have any stamina. Have you seen that? Alright. Hail, Rhonda. Let's find the Ember Ring. Okay, that's the Ember Ring. Visit the Ember Ring completed. So, what I can do as well is to do there was a comment in the patch note, and of course I forgot about it. So I need to check it out. There's one patch note that say list objective. Okay, was as at the end. List objective. So we're going to try that. List objectives. Okay, and of course you cannot see it because it's behind me. But basically, quest Rhonda know best, tag tutorial, active objective, accept combat training. So now I need to speak to Rhonda. Oh, I see you found the Ember Ring. Fantastic. Let's get you back in shape so you can defend yourself here in New Haven. Oh, sure, a few combat exercises wouldn't hurt. Combat is a bit different here in New Haven than you were where you've come from. Why don't you start by taking on the battle dummy and show me what you got? Okay. So let's take that one. Let's see if I finished. That battle dummy still looks unscathed. You need to square up with the dummy. Claim it as your target. Then go for it for the attack. Okay, got it. Okay. So I'm not doing the right thing. Let's take the one. Ah, there we go. I had to go close. So with a bow, it's not working very nicely. All right. Use Z by default. Okay. So there we go. Okay, I hope it's working. Rhonda's face seemed to express a look of pleasant surprise. Excellent work, Drifter. Here, take those potions to help you survive your first few fights. You are bound to be attacked in this harsh land. I would suggest always carrying some health potion on you as they can keep you alive in a pinch. If you or an ally are knocked out in combat, smelling sand can be used to wake up each other. You should always carry some of those on you as well. That being said, I will say one last thing. Share your adventure with allies. This harsh world become a lot more friendly with people by your side. Other than that, stick to your combat exercise and find as many Ember Ring as you can, and I think you will survive. Farewell. So, did I receive my potion? No, I didn't. Yeah, confirm. There we go. Quest complete. I have my potion. I have everything. So that's really great. So now I can speak to this. So there is a table. But now the table are not working anymore. Look at that. You cannot speak to the table, so I'm going to speak to Tilly and Vern. Tilly, look excited to see you. Hail, Drifter! Any exciting adventure with new treasure to trade? I have plenty of supplies you can buy. Yeah, I would like to trade and look at the supply you have for sale. There we go. You see that this game is much more role-play oriented. You're not just doing quests, right? Well, not fast-paced quests. You really have a dialogue and everything. That's what I mean. Is my... yeah. That is completely full. Alright. That's why... Okay, fine. Never mind about this. Alright. So I can also ask her, have you heard any rumor from other adventurer? I've only heard that what most have, Northridge is dangerous, that's the land north of the old wall, and that I shouldn't be out at night. My father, Melran in New Haven, has set a curfew. I'm not to stay out after dark. He's a sweetie, but I wish I could go on an adventure. Well, your father must love you very much to be sure you stay at night. He's the best. You can find him in New Haven, in runouts or merchant style in the city. He has the most amazing story of our journey here through the Darklands. Too, I don't remember as I was just a baby at the time. You should ask him. Farewell and stay safe. Tilly look excited to see you. Oh yes, it does repeat the first sentence. At the end, okay. Alright, so we have someone else here. An older gentleman with a sturdy stick is going over some pace with a pupil. After his lesson is done, he turns and greets you. And you, are you ready to slay the wild beasts of the north, or do you need some training too? I was hoping to see some training manual. I'm thinking of switching a profession, or maybe even a combat role. Or no, I will say, how many beasts have you slain? Me? Slay beasts? Preposterous! I've never been north of the wall. I've been busy, of course. I've made countless sacrifices to ensure the very best training is offered to all. For a small fee, of course. There it is. I roll better, man. Here, I'm wondering what this quest will be about. Gilden is writing carefully on a large piece of parchment and doesn't seem to notice your approach. Excuse me, so steal the man's coin purse while he's distracted. Oh yes, that's true, Ishabu. I am tempted to do that, but then I will have a bad reputation. So I'm going to wait that someone else is doing this on stream. I'm not going to test that. Oh, I'm not testing with this character. Excuse me, sir. Is that a map you're drawing? Oh, hello there. Yes, yes, that's a good eye you have. It's a map indeed, or it should be if I ever manage to finish it. Do you have other maps of the north? Of course, young adventurer, I know this land better than any. Some of those maps are a bit older than I would like, however, and the Ranger's Guild is in need of updated findings. What's keeping you from finishing it? I'm afraid I just don't move through those hills as easily as I did in my younger years. Still, the work must be done. How about it, adventurer? You look capable enough. Help this old man complete his life's work and make some coin in the process. What do you have in mind? I need you to scout the surrounding valley thoroughly and report me when you're finished. Do be discreet, however. The enemies of New Haven also have scouts in this area, and it could be dangerous if they learn what you're doing. Oh, and if you see Bear Dean in the wood to the east, let me know. I would like to speak with him. Okay, I accept. I will get started right away. Aha! So what do I have to do exactly? So we can do list objective. List objectives. That's waiting for the interface to be there, of course. After, we will not have to do that. Okay. So my objective, discover cave or talk to Gildan or talk to Gildan. Oh, of course I know where the cave is. Yeah, there's a lot of reading. But like we have explained earlier with Morolan, you don't have to do the quest. You do the quest if you like it. So if you enjoy reading stories, if you enjoy that kind of stuff. I think the vegetation looks so much nicer. That's really cool. So I need to discover a cave. Well, I know where there's a cave. Because I know very well this area. Should I bother to gather some copper? I don't really need copper anymore. But we still need to find one of his apprentices in the woods. It has been asking also. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is new. Hey, this is new. Look at that. We didn't have this before. Hey. Nice. You've seen that? There was nothing in this little corner. Hi, look the awesome hat he has. You've seen that hat? Yeah, I kind of have made a clone of myself, yeah. Indeed I did. It was the ID. An imposing man stands amid a peaceful valley. You wonder how wise it was to approach him. How would you find me? Why would you find me? Gildan sent me. He need to speak with you. He bid you seek him out near von Embering. Near yon Embering? Okay. But no time for such trifle. Not even for the like of him who be revered among the ranger. Why is that? Can I help? Beardins look up and down and consider your capability. You're a bit green, but maybe I can have you deal with a smaller problem so I can deal with the larger ones. I need to test your strength too. Can you handle yourself, Drifter? I will try my best. My name is Elloa, Wendy. Good to meet you. I need you to hunt a quillback, but not just any quillback. This one hunger for human blood. It got nasty streak at mile long and big sharpy pointy teeth to boot. I need you to... how you can handle. So I will need you to fight some weaker quillback first and bring me the numbing agent you can collect from their spine. I will even show you a trick you can do with it. The little spinny critter? Harmless, I will be back in no time. Okay. Okay, we need to go to hunt a quillback. Alright. So that was our little farming area, you remember? That we were hunting with Ash Beyond Gaming the other day. We were hunting specifically in this area. We have been done that for quite some times. And now we have a little hunting camp over here. Okay. So we need to find a quillback, and the night is falling, of course. Rodgart on the shoe. You ever get the sudden urge to break Dom and Tilly and sub? That's not happening since a while, but it can happen. Sure, why are you asking this specifically? But there's always a reason for that. When you have some feeling moving through you, even if you cannot really understand them, there's always a reason. You have something that is passing through you. Okay, here's a quillback. There it is, the weak numbing agent. We're going to take the chance to gather this carcass, because why not? There it is. So you can see that I'm higher level, of course. Those quests are aimed for new players. I am level 12 with this character. So here everything is far below my level. But that's okay. I'm just doing the quest for the pleasure of doing the quests. Don't worry, Zutastic. It's going to be alright. I promise you. I will protect you. But you see, the graphic have changed. It has changed slightly, but it has changed. Things are much more precise now. It's interesting. Okay, we're going to give back our numbing agent to Bildain, or what was he called again? Don't remember his name. Well, the big guy with the beer head on his head. Berdin, Torgendale, right. Well, did you get the region I asked for? Here you go, the numbing agent you asked for proof as my battle prowess. What do you use them exactly? Oh, you will want to keep them. In fact, there are some more. A legendary warrior, Ranja Shelley, came up with it as a way to help avoid damage. She found that she was sometimes too effective in battle and didn't have the strength to carry enough to counter the hits. So she put this stuff on her blade to fade her strike's impact. Even though she was still devastating in battle, her enemy would focus more on the other than her. Pretty clever, eh? Now all striker use the trick. Oh, that's really nice. Does that mean that if I come with another character, Berdin Torkendale will ask me to kill a bear, or to kill a doe, or something else, something different? Brilliant, thanks for the lesson. I can use this to make fading strike and my allies won't have to worry as much about me. Now, about that bloodthirsty quillback you mentioned. Oh yes, a crafty little blighter. Like I say, nasty streak, pointy teeth, bad business for the unwary. Berdin make a gesture by his mouth with two finger-like fangs striking voraciously. You will have to hunt him too. Seems to have been taking hunter unaware after they have killed other quillback in the area and are cleaning them. The blood must draw the fool things, probably think he's killing a rival for a meal. Regardless, you will have to kill some more quillback. Don't forget to collect even more numbing agents as you do, and keep an eye out for the bloodthirsty things. Can you do that? Like I say, those things are harmless. I will be back after I successfully draw these things out of hiding and kill it. Well, don't be afraid to get help from allies if you think you need it. Bring me its blood-soaked hide and I will craft you a little something. Oh, nice. That's really cool. So let's see what will be our reward. So actually, I am totally doing another quest. I'm not at all doing the Gildan quest. Map out the area. I guess I will have to go in this cave. And right now I'm here. Okay, let's get some other quill back. Bloodthirsty beer. Let's do this. That's probably from the quest of someone else, but we're just resetting the quest for that person. It will be interesting also to test the interaction of those, you know, what happened when someone is... There we go, blood-soaked beer hide. That's probably not what I need. Let's see too. Let's see if I give him back. That's a test. This is beta testing. Okay, we're going to go back to the guy and see if I give him the blood, because he should not accept the hide. But who knows? It will be interesting to see if it's bugged or not. Oh, there is a little mishap over here. So going to try that. And you're going to be my witness. There it is, I have a bloody hide. Well, did you get the hide as proof you killed the bloody things? Ah, no. Okay, it worked correctly. Nice. Nice. It worked as it should. That's perfect. And after a full night of hunts, killing, more than 15, probably 30 quillback. Finally, our prey is here standing in front of us. The bloodthirsty quillback that we believe to be a myth or legend is here and chasing me. Oh my god, there we go. All right. We're going to get rid of this creature of legends, getting his blood-soaked quillback hide. Yay! Finally! As you can see, I have the bear one, I have the stag hide, and now I have the quillback hide. Let's go back to the quest giver that were in a corner of the map. If I recall correctly, it was over there. That little corner. And we have finally succeeded our quest. Thank you so much for the encouragement. I needed that, it has been long. So Cyanite, I may have won just now. Are you proud of me? My patience and my determination made me victorious. That being said, it has been a long time. Is it always supposed to be that long? I've gathered more than 200 weak numbing agent, 15 blooded rabbit foods, and I don't know how many that were just empty. Also, I got a war armor and a split grain leather helm. Hey! Well, did you get the hide as proof you killed the bloody thing? Will this suffice? Ah, very good. It seems you have proven yourself once again, Elloa Wendy. Don't worry about the blood. It will make you more intimidating. Ha 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 ha. Burden grabbed some crafting tool and set to work. You rest while you wait. Here you are, Elloa Wendy. A hastily made, but sturdy belt. Wear it well. Thank you. I will do that. Yay! Look at this. Oh my god, so much better than the one I have. Nice. There we go. Quest completed, birding in the woods. And I got my rewards. That's perfect. Plus 7 health regen. So no, the health regen is not, it's not in, yeah, plus, how come? What is giving me plus health regen? Probably at the necklace or something. Yeah, the necklace. That's what it is. There you go. Yeah, thank you, Cage Storm. Thank you. So we are successfully done our first quest. I think we could do a screenshot of me cheering. Maybe we need to wait that the goat is gone. There it is. Wait. Yeah, a little memory of me finishing my quest. And voila, this is here that I'm stopping the show. Thank you so very much for watching it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy our special guest and that you're following him on all his social media. You will find all of the information below as usual, of course. Do not hesitate to join us live. I'm offering a beta key every Friday on Twitch TV. So you can join us, ask your question directly. It's going to be fun. And thank you luck for a beta key if you have not the game already. Thanks to all of you that are supporting us for a long time. Thanks to all of you that have been pre-ordering the game and testing the game every week. And thank you if you have joined our Wall Breaker event. In next episode, you can expect me to do a summary about the Wall Breaker event and everything that happened during this event. Thanks again for watching. You take care of yourself and I will see you next time. Bye!